There's trash everywhere. Smells and sweat are your daily enemies. You must have extreme patience with standing in line at the grocery store, getting anything done. Often doesn't make any sense, and they do it in a very backwards way. It's a cash society. The computers and Wi-Fi are spotty. Even if you have a lot of money and you live in a nice area, you still have to come into town and deal with the infrastructure on a regular basis. There were several places we live where the police are very corrupt. The gringo tax is a real thing. We decided it's not for us. There are a few cities we still would be willing to try that are more in the middle of Mexico. I was sick a lot, and I got dengue fever in Puerto Escondido. This was our experience. For many of you all that are watching these videos, many are planning to make a move to Mexico or retire to Mexico, and you may be 1 or 2 years out and you're still in the research phase. And one of the things I often suggest you do is frequent Facebook groups in the town or the city or the country that you wish to live in, so that you can get real-time feedback and real-time information from people on the ground. It'll help with the anxiety and the fears and the questioning on whether or not a particular place is safe, if you're crazy or losing your mind, because oftentimes you have contradicting information coming from family and friends, letting you know that you're crazy. And so a lot of this anxiety can be, or the self-doubt can be eliminated by, once again, talking to people and doing the research. You just got to dig in and do the research. So recently, about a couple of weeks ago, a person, I found a discussion that was happening online where someone was talking about how somebody asked the question, how do you all that are living abroad or living in Mexico, how are you supporting yourselves? And so a variety of people posted a bunch of questions and answers on what they're doing, and it gave a lot of ideas. So that seemed to be in a pretty decent, popular video. So I thought I'd try and do that again. And so this question is a different one. Somebody's asking, let me see if I can pull this up on the screen. So I'm gonna be going back and forth with the, let's see if we can present that. And hopefully you should be able to see me. Yes. What's the way I can enlarge this? Let's see if I can. Let me increase the font size. Or I can do that. Is that better? Yep, a whole lot better. So let's go ahead. So I found this in Reddit, which is also another popular, I guess, I don't know, friendly, supportive community, like a forum or dashboard where you can just post questions like a forum. If you are either an expat or immigrant, I'm curious about your experience. I read Mexico has about 1.5 million Americans living there, and is a popular place to live in or retire to. And while I've been to resorts, I would love to visit Mexico City, that's what that stands for, and check out the city. What do you like most or least about Mexico? Will you return to the US? What brought you here? What brought you there? Have you had difficulty assimilating? So again, getting this information it can be very insightful. You need to be researching and digging because all of this information, picking in on other people's experiences, it gives you an insight into what life can be like. Don't underestimate anything that anybody's saying. Don't laugh at them. Don't. Cause I'm gonna tell you something. There's some things that just happen. Like you hear people losing their cell phones in the Uber ride, or leaving their wallet, or leaving their purse. And you have to understand, most folks have been driving their own cars for 30 years and they've never ridden Uber. And now when your only transportation mode is using services like Uber, guess what? The likelihood of you losing your phone or your wallet in the car goes up. It happens a lot of times. You know what I mean? So take the insight that you get and write it down in a notebook and keep it and take this stuff seriously. So I'm gonna read one here. If I'm gonna see if I can try and post it, and then I'll try and post this document inside of our VIP group for anybody who wants this document. That way you can just save it to a permanent file. So this person says, I don't permanently move to Mexico until this year. So this question was posed about a year ago. I don't permanently move to Mexico until this year, but have spent months at a time in non-resort areas deciding if it was right for me. And for those of y'all that are considering a move, I would encourage you to do that. Go visit the place. Go stay for 30 days. Don't stay in the touristy areas. Go in the outskirts. Go outside the area. But again, do your research to know which areas to stay in, and do that. I highly recommend it, because visiting for an extended period of time is different than just moving here and living here. Coming for a week, anybody can get past that. 2 weeks, anybody can get past that. But see if you can stick around for 6 weeks and try that. So after spending over 50 years in the United States and being divorced, I am ready for a change. Mexico is certainly that, but close enough to still visit family. I found a place I love to volunteer at, so I spend my retirement years busy, as well as giving back to the community I live in. I like that Mexico doesn't really use or enforce zoning. So even small neighborhoods have several small stores, a bakery, and even a restaurant or two, not endless tracts of houses that require a car to go to a mall where all the businesses have been grouped together. That's one thing I do agree with him on. I like that everyone seems to be an entrepreneur, though I do realize it's due to necessity. Only in the largest cities have I seen people begging for money. Everyone else is hustling something or other. Those that can't do much will open the door for you at OXXO or help you park for tips. I respect that. I like that just about everyone I run into is friendly and tolerant of my bad Spanish. I've never felt not welcomed. I like to stay in mostly Mexican neighborhoods with few foreigners. There are a lot of gated golf resorts that expats are playing pickleball at. I don't know anything about that and don't care for those that choose to create a mini USA in a foreign country and don't integrate. Their loss. I like the public transportation system in Mexico. Inexpensive, comfy buses take you anywhere you want to go. Flying within the country is only a little more. Tons for me to explore, that I have traveled to very few places there. I like the vibe. I like the food. It'll be a while before I'm tired of this place. Mexico, I'm going to copy this and post it here just so you can have it. And like I say, there's a bunch of these. I'm going to post this in our VIP group. If you're not a member, take a look at that. I'm going to put a link here, move abroad at thrive.com/VIP. Learn more about the VIP. And so I will load this up with the video there. Listen, a lot of stuff he said, very valid. Everybody hustles out here. Folks selling tamales out the back, out the trunk of their car. Some of the best tamales can be had. I just recently posted a video earlier this week just talking about supporting local vendors when you can. Buy from the guy on the street. Buy from the lady selling this on the road. Buy local. It's helping the local businesses, the people that need it. Everybody's out here trying to hustle and make a dollar, make a living. And as many times the experience is going to be great. The food is going to be great. It's just an all around win. So definitely. What else did he say? Everybody's friendly. People here are very tolerant. I don't know what the zoning laws are here, but it seemed like it's easy. If you wanted to sell something, ain't nobody gonna bother you. There's folks out there selling hamburgers, selling tacos, selling, I mean, everything, watching. Oh, I seen an American guy. I forgot where he was from because he spoke English to me. Sometimes the guys will just stand at the door, like at the gas station or the convenience store, OXXO, and they'll just open the door. They'll let you, he like, dude, I don't need your help going into the store. And then they'll open the door when you come out, expecting a tip. But, like the guy say, he respect the hustle. Everybody try to do something. Some random guy shows up in the parking lot with a red flag, helping you back your car out, throw him a couple of pesos. Everybody try to hustle. It's a beautiful place, y'all. It's a beautiful place, different culture. So someone else responded, I agree with everything you said, all good points and totally true. I am Canadian and have lived in Mexico 25 years. People are tolerant. Everyone hustles. You can travel around inexpensively. There are so many places to visit. The healthcare system is great, at least here in the north. The food is delicious and great. I'm going to post that just so that you can have this. And like I say, this is real people leaving their impressions, leaving their feedback. And so he says, awesome, thank you for that. Do you know where you are moving yet? I don't know if this is the answer. Being a gringo with only some Spanish and wanting to volunteer for a worthy cause, I found that one of the expat havens would make a soft landing for my first time living abroad. Tons of NGOs started by expats make volunteering easy. So I will spend a few years in San Miguel de Allende taking Spanish classes and learning the culture. At some point in the future, with some traveling and increased fluency, maybe I'll move elsewhere. San Miguel gets a lot of crap for being gringo land, but if you get out of Centro, it's pretty damn Mexican. So I can visit that area when I want to, but to be honest, I hardly see foreigners in my colonia, so I'm not sure how much more authentic things can get. Uh, so like he's going to San Miguel de Allen. I'm gonna bold that. Check these cities out, investigate them. And I hear there's a lot of foreigners in San Miguel de Allen. Somebody else says San Miguel de Allen is also popular with Mexican tourists, and American Canadian tourists are largely concentrated in the small area. Basically, every popular tourist city has safe neighborhoods that aren't inundated with tourists. And being in those cities get you or something beat. Are you still there? Yes, stay in the call. Okay. And being in those cities, you get much better options for other stuff, for stuff like Spanish classes, good food that isn't Mexican or burgers and intercity transport. I'm in Leon and wouldn't mind if it were a bit more touristy, to be honest. Post that. Weird question, but do you drink? I don't think he answered that. Hi, just seeing your comment. Do you own your own home in Mexico? If so, how did you go about purchasing property? What about your retirement accounts? Do you keep the same brokerage firm from the US, or did you transfer your assets to Mexican brokerage firms? See, this, like I said, this is why it's important for you all to do this type of research, because you can one, if the guy answers this question, it's a good piece of information for you. If he doesn't answer the question, perhaps that sometimes they don't see it, you can come in and post questions like this yourself and get the answer. Don't know, you got questions about the banking, got questions about how people get their checks and payments and Social Security, how they buy houses, come and ask. So this person says, I don't know if he's responding to this person. I am a U.S. citizen who immigrated to Mexico. I have permanent residency, but I don't have a permanent base here. I keep moving around. What do I love most about Mexico? The people. Sure, you'll get assholes from time to time, but the majority are wonderful to deal with and will go out of their way to help you any way they can, even if they don't know you very well. Really, the food is also really, although I don't like tacos or chilaquiles, give me a mole tamale, choco flan, and paletas de mame all day though. He didn't say how the food was. I'm assuming the few things I don't like are very minor, but are a stark difference from living in the United States. For example, in the grocery store, I'm not a fan of crazy long lines. Think about your typical Walmart with only two registers open and double the line. That is a thing. I don't know what it is about these stores. They love having lines. You know what I mean? And just depending on the mood I'm in that day, I will load up my buggy and then I get up to that thing and that line be all the way in the middle of the stove. And I'm like, I can't today. And I'll just leave my basket and I go. But I've learned when to come. You know, there's certain schedules, time of day you want to go, time of day you don't want to be there. But sometimes I forget about it. I'm there in the moment and I'm like, let me just run in here and get this. I get to the front, 50 people in line. And it's like, I can't today. So that is the thing. The baggers at the register, and so he puts in parentheses, before I get attacked, I understand why they are working at their old age and I support them. I just don't enjoy when they protest me bagging my own groceries when I'm much faster and never have money on me to give to them anyway. Because normally you tip your baggers. And sometimes I'd be in that line, I'd be like, God dog it, I don't got no money, I don't got no change, I don't got no cash. And I hate for them to bag my stuff and I don't have a tip, you know, because oftentimes I don't carry cash or I just don't. Yeah. So I feel him on that. So he goes on to say, I turned that big old light on. Now I got these little bugs flying to the light. Housing, as others have already said, housing prices, which have gone up since COVID lockdown, it continues to rise as more Americans, Canadians, Europeans flock here, is another thorn in my side. Because I move around often, I rarely have a yearly lease, so I end up in short-term rentals, and the prices that I'm seeing have made me want to stick to smaller towns. Also, high prices don't necessarily mean luxury here. There's no reason someone should be paying 2 to 3 thousand US dollars a month in Merida or Playa del Carmen without hot water. It's crazy what some of these shady owners expect people to deal with. I would also be remiss if I didn't mention how us paying 3 to 5 times rent of locals is impacting housing for locals. I have had friends struggle to find affordable apartments on their Mexican salary because their landlords are predatory and jack up their rents to target expats and vacationers. Shopping for basics, you'd be hard pressed to find soft linen bed sheets and towels without paying an arm and a leg here. They're seen as commodities, so when I go back to visit my family or friends, I always leave room in my suitcase to bring something back. Electronics and small appliances of quality are also extremely overpriced. Unfortunately, there's no room in my suitcase to fit these bags, so I just grit my teeth and deal with it. Now, things I miss, workers here have no urgency to do anything, from government employees to bank tellers to service technicians to repairmen. I agree with them 1,000%. They would all take their time to do any and everything. On the flip side, it has taught me to relax, so much so that when I go back to the States, people tell me I'm too relaxed and calm about everything. That is the opposite of feeling. When I was here the first year and a half, I was livid. Now I've adapted because I realized Merida wasn't changing. I had to change. Merida will kick your butt. You ain't gonna win. You know, bringing this stuff. Oh, I don't know why they don't do it this way. I don't know why they don't do it that way. This way, so it ain't changing. And you will drive yourself crazy, or you have to learn to adapt and adjust. And I'm better for it now because I have adjusted. I have adapted for the most part. 90%. There's still some things that irk me, like the grocery store line. I just know I can come back at another time and not have to wait. But all the other stuff, I'm a better person for it. I am more relaxed now. I am more calm. The things that used to drive me crazy, the way they drive, it don't bother me no more. Pulling off on side of the road, stopping in the middle of the street, don't bother me no more. I do the same thing. I stop now. When I want to look at my phone, I pull on side of the road, block traffic, and look at my phone. Nobody honks. I was the guy honking when I first got here. Like, what? Nobody honks. I don't honk anymore. I stop, they don't honk at me. They just go around. They pull out in the middle of the road, block the intersection to make a left turn on the other street. Nobody honks. They just go around or they wait. Nobody. I'm like, so I'm better now. I'm calmer now, which gives me more peace now overall. I am more at ease. You know, I'm not at dis-ease. See that word disease, dis-ease. I'm not at dis-ease anymore. I'm at ease 90% of the time. I'm calm. I'm relaxed. I'm just chilling. Nothing bother me no more. Now, Kim, on the other hand, still ain't adapted. Sometimes we were in therapy, and the therapist was like him be getting hot. I mean, she be driving mad. Uh, and I was telling the therapist, I said, I'm in a different place now. And it just irks me how she responds. And she said, don't ride with her. I said, you know what? That's exactly what I'm gonna stop riding with her. So every now and again, I'll ride in the car with her while she's driving. She's like, either you drive or don't ride with her. But if you let her drive, don't say nothing. So half the time I go, half the time I don't go. Well, 80% of the time I don't go if she's driving. Because someday I drive all week, all day, taking people around. I just be tired. I don't want to drive. So 90% of the time I just don't go with her when she wants to drive or has to drive because I don't feel like driving. And because of that little change, my woosah, my mojo is way better. I got to take charge of that. You know what I mean? So so he right about that. They have no urgency. Variety in inventory and so things I missed, still talking on that. Variety in inventory in grocery stores. I always joke that in the US you can go to the grocery store for ketchup and find at least 10 different varieties. Again, things I miss, having one-stop shops where you can get everything you need under one roof. Sure, there are super Walmarts and mega Sorianas, but they aren't everywhere. Again, things I miss, nice, cheap gyms. I'll never be able to find a gym down here without rusty weights for $20 like I had back in the States. If you find yourself in the city that's often mentioned on YouTube in the video titled Top Places to Live, you're going to be paying an arm and a leg, and the gym might not even be nice. It took me a long time to come up with a list of dislikes because they're just minor inconveniences, and it comes with the territory. Mexico is still home for me, and I likely always will. I am very aware that I'm no longer in the States, and that's part of the appeal for me. Lastly, haven't really had any difficulty integrating with the community. I am African American, so when people first see me, they will automatically assume I'm a tourist and try to speak English or give me tourist pricing. But once I respond back in Spanish, it's all good. Learning Spanish goes a long way in helping you feel like you're a member of the community. I still feel like an outsider when listening to my friends talk amongst themselves because I don't catch everything when they're speaking so fast, and in addition to almost never understanding all yours, whatever that is. But it's all good. The funny thing now is my friends laughing at my confusion, which I also find hilarious. So let me copy that. Good feedback. Doo-doo-doo. All right. Wow. Thank you for this great info. I appreciate your input. Somebody asked, I'm thinking of moving to Mexico this autumn. I'm very interested in Ajihik. I'm gonna post. I don't know how to say that word. I sold my home and I'm currently full timing in my RV. I thought I I thought it would be easier to explore Ajihik with my RV. That way, in case Mexico isn't a good fit, I can leave much easier. I've been doing all I can to learn online, but so many places are like you mentioned, top places in Mexico, and I don't find them that helpful. My Spanish is a bit rusty, so I've been brushing up on it. Any other tips you have would be greatly appreciated. Let me put this here so you can see the name of the town he's talking about. Okay. All right. So he says brushing up on your Spanish will definitely be helpful, but don't beat yourself up if you think you don't know enough to get by. You didn't mention your age or anything, but given that you sold your home, are you retired or close to it? I ask because I'm curious if you'll be driving over on a tourist visa or temporary or permanent residency. I imagine if you don't yet know if Mexico is the place for you, you might be coming down as a tourist. If you later decide you permanent want to permanently live in Mexico, you have to visit a consulate outside of Mexico to start the process. Other than recommending that you look up the process for driving your U.S. registered vehicle over the border, I don't have much. I think you may need a permit or insurance valid in Mexico. I'm not sure what state you're coming from, but if any of these places are on your way to Ajik, I would recommend a stopover. I'm just going to paste these towns. Somebody respond, live there for 5 years, and as I recall, finding a place for an RV can be very difficult. I've read that in a few other places. The RV park is really not a big thing here. Um, Somebody asked, how have you found Mexico's healthcare system? Currently going through a nightmare hospital stay in the US. So this was posted a month ago. So this board seemed to be pretty active and he seemed to be responsive. Um, and he said, I've been fortunate enough to not need to go to the hospital while here, but I've been to routine doctors like the dentist and eye doctor, in addition to going to urgent care a couple of times. I've found that medical care is a lot more affordable here. I always pay out of pocket, even when you consider the increasing cost over the last couple of years. The doctors seem to be very knowledgeable and a large amount speak multiple languages. If you want a doctor who's a polyglot, you will be paying slightly more, but nowhere near US prices. I've had local friends who have been to the hospital and they tell me if I want to be seen quickly, it's best to find a private clinic opposed to the public hospital. Doo-doo-doo. I am a U.S. expat. I am a U.S. expat and have been living in Canada since 2019. My wife and I decided to leave the U.S. because we were sick of the rat race and didn't want to have to continue working until we were dead. We had visited Merida a few times as tourists and then returned in 2018 and spent the month living more like a local and doing some boots on the ground research to see if we wanted to live here. We ended up buying a house and then in March 2019 sold our home in the US, packed up our van and made the drive to Merida. So Somebody said, "Wow, you drove to Merida. I'd love to hear your experience on doing that. I've been thinking about doing the same." He says, "Wasn't too exciting. 8-day drive from San Francisco." um, Somebody else posts, just making sure we're still recorded. All right, not from the US. I'm from the UK. I've been living here permanently and happily. All these bugs coming from. They like my light. Um, I've been living here permanently and happily for almost 2 years. Except that this is not the US or UK. Things work differently here. Assimilation is very difficult if you do not speak Spanish. Take classes, take extra tutoring, attempt to master a Spanish accent. Mexico City is currently having issues with people coming on huge salaries and renting apartments at high prices. This is pricing out local people out of their family homes. Be sensitive to this and be seen as an active and contributory member of of your community. Relations with the U.S. in recent years have been difficult, as you know. Many people here have had their loved ones separated from them and have been labeled things that they are not. There are people who are quite rightfully angry about this. Hence, why would you had your problem on the Mexico page? Beware of this because we are immigrants just as much as their families are. Hola, que tal? Whenever you make eye contact with someone, go the long way. Ultimately, come with an attitude and the intention of integration rather than seeking a never ending vacation. It's very clear to see when people are here with the wrong intentions, and that frustrates everyone. On the other hand, this is a fantastic country. I love it here, as I'm sure many people on this sub do. Cultural awareness is amazing. On many occasions, old cultures and customs come to modern times and are celebrated. Mexicans are some of the funniest people ever. I never stop laughing around my friends. Of course, food. Mexicans can pretty much cook any cuisine to very high standards. Uh, Having the ability to travel means you get to experience so much more. Every state and even every colonia is completely different. As someone who is insatiably curious, I have been having the greatest time. The only thing that makes me think of leaving is my family back in the UK. It's a long flight. However, Mexico City feels like home. Boom. Right. Okay. So what do y'all think so far? Thank you. Best of luck and enjoy. First, somebody else responds. Technically, yes, there are an estimated 1.6 million US citizens living in Mexico. However, that number is misleading. Nearly 1 million of them are dual citizens of Mexico and the United States. Some of those are naturalized, but the vast majority are either Mexican born people that became US citizens or people born of Mexican citizens that have decided to move back to Mexico, or they are born in Mexico of US citizens, many meaning they are Mexican and US citizens. The remainder are people who are US citizens but residents of Mexico. Another group are tourists, even perpetual tourists who come and go. As for the whole expat versus immigrant argument, it's largely stupid. Immigrants are expats, but not all expats are immigrants. Non-immigrant visas and visa exempt tourists are not immigrants. But some people insist it's some kind of racial dog whistle. The fact is, I know lots of blacks, brown, and Asian expats. It's not a whites only thing, as many try to pretend in order to feel better about their own colonialism. Mexico is a varied place with different cultures throughout. Did you know there's a huge Chinese Mexican population in the area around Mexicali, for instance? Then there are the cultures of descendants from Aztec and Mayan ones. Finally, you can't really know if you will like it until you spend time in Mexico. Yeah, there's this big argument between expat, whether you're an expat or immigrant. Um, People argue over that nonsense nonstop. I personally don't get into the argument, but look into it if that's something that you're interested in. Um, Merida have a very large Lebanese population. Lebanese folks are into politics, government. They own a lot of businesses, neighborhoods. Very, very active community. Also, another uh, large group of folks here are Koreans, a very large Korean population here in Merida as well. Again, Lebanese working together, Koreans working together. They even have their own hospital on the other side of town. And from my understanding, it's a children's hospital and it's free for children. We went there when Haley was initially diagnosed with schizophrenia a couple of years ago, while we're trying to seek treatment, and some of the doctors suggested that we go there and free. So um, Mexico is a big melting pot, man. You got people from all over the place. Mennonites, very large population here in Mexico as well. We've been planning for a long time, and now our budget has changed dramatically over post-COVID. Curious how North American expats compare Mexico to Southeast Asia. How did that conversation change? The costs, after this, the cost to qualify for residency has gone up dramatically in recent years. Is becoming a less viable option each year, unfortunately. Here's a link with requirements for 2024. And I believe those numbers went up for 2025 as well. I'm going to post this here. I don't know if the link is still valid. All right, so this list update for 2025, this link here, looks like they updated it. Um, so this other person responds, we recently moved to Mexico City from Thailand, and the cost of living is considerably higher here. Rents are similar, but everything else is 50 to 100%. The uh, copy that. Oh, that question. Uh, wow, this is substantially higher. If I'm seeing the 3,200 a month of $54,000 figures quoted on some confident website, do you think is that their website haven't been updated yet, or are they continuing to use the lower figures for some reason? Each continent has their own requirement. It's very odd. All right, so just the original question to back. What I love about Mexico is the feeling of living here. It reminds me a lot of U.S. back in the 80s and 90s, back when people looked out for one another, helped when they could, and took care of their neighbors. Today in the U.S., you don't know your neighbors most of the time. Everyone is out for themselves, and you have to worry about if the person next to you is about to pull out a gun and start shooting. My original plan when I went to Mexico was to stay there for 6 months and then go to Germany for graduate school. I'm still here because I love it so much. Yeah, most of the neighborhoods I lived in the States, I ain't know my neighbors. Half the time they didn't speak. Um, Different world out here. We have residency in Mexico and currently live in San Miguel de Allende. Formerly, we lived in Vallarta, but could not handle the humidity during the summer months, so saw a central Mexican location instead. We absolutely love it in San Miguel de Allende. We live in a community with about 50% Mexican nationals, and the rest are expats, immigrants. We've been welcomed with open arms by the Mexicans and are routinely invited to celebrate local holidays and occasions. Learning Spanish is essential to integrate. We have no plans to return to the United States. Awesome. Good for you. How long have you been in Mexico? Why did you leave the U.S.? We lived in Mexico for about 2 years. We retired early several years ago, so we just enjoy life these days. Before that, we lived in Europe while still doing the corporate thing. So we are comfortable living outside the U.S. and have done so for 8 years. Our first visit to Mexico with somebody else. Our first visit to Mexico was 1989. Visited several cities. Several family and friends were interested in scuba diving, so ended up in Cozumel, Quintana Roo. We, through the years, visited many Mexican states, but kept coming back to Cozumel. Early 90s, bought oceanfront Northside condo. Population has grown and cruise ships found Cozumel. Lucky for us, we live on the north side of the island. Cruise ships are locked into the south side. We are from Chicago and enjoy both areas. So, just reading. Found this sub when researching Americans moving to Mexico. I myself am Mexican American with Poncho Spanish and my Mexican family from San Luis Potosi, Monterrey, and Oaxaca has always been nice to me when speaking it. Getting tired of the rat race in America, and I'm originally from the border town of McAllen in South Texas, located in the Rio Grande Valley. I'm just curious about the cartel violence in diverse parts of Mexico while traveling. This is what stops me from wanting to make the move from America to Mexico or even visit for that matter. This is why we have not seen our family who would frequently come over to visit. That and my grandmother died of COVID, and her two sisters also passed around that same time, and the cousins don't bother to see each other anymore. My mother and her sisters were the cousins. I have so many friends and acquaintances who have made the move to the RGV permanently due to cartel violence. Curious on thoughts or experiences, if any. Even more curious to see how everyone is faring a year later after the original poster posted this. The person said, we were going to do the same thing last year, spent 4 months traveling down the Pacific coast of Mexico, hitting all of the snorkeling sites along the way. It's one thing to go to a first world resort in Mexico, quite another to live at the people do in Mexico on a tight budget. It is not as economically inexpensive as it was before 2020. Things have doubled or tripled housing, especially. Let me tell y'all something. The cost, people keep talking about gringos or foreigners are coming here and jacking the price up. No, it's just like after 2020, 2021, after that COVID, when things kind of started to open back up, it's just like everything just shot up. Just like this guy saying, it's not as economically inexpensive as it was before 2020. Before 2020, things have doubled or tripled. As much as I love the beautiful waters and enjoy snorkeling every day, it was not worth the hassle of living a third world lifestyle. Mexico is not a third world country. I mean, it's one of the top economies in the world, top 12, I believe. Um, in many places, you can't flush toilet paper. Water gets shuts off and on. You have to haul your own water many places. Many places don't have washer and dryers, and you have to take it to a laundromat. The pollution is into the oceans at a record rate. There's trash everywhere. Smells and sweat are your daily enemies. You must have extreme patience with standing in line at the grocery store, getting anything done. Often doesn't make any sense, and they do it in a very backwards way. It's a cash society. The computers and Wi-Fi are spotty. Even if you have a lot of money and you live in a nice area, you still have to come into town and deal with the infrastructure on a regular basis. There were several places we live where the police are very corrupt. The gringo tax is a real thing. We decided it's not for us. There are a few cities we still would be willing to try that are more in the middle of Mexico. I was sick a lot, and I got dengue fever in Puerto Escondido. This was our experience. Now, he makes a lot of points, valid points, I would say. A lot of folks don't like to hear that, but you got to know yourself. Living here is going to require some patience. Them long lines is for real. Flushing toilet in the paper is for real. Going to get your own water, having the water delivered, that's for real. Hold on 1 second. What? Now you want to run off. What's up? Huh? Mm-hmm. See that woosah. Woosah. Um, so yeah, you gotta go get your own water or have a delivery guy bring it, one or the other. What else does he say? Trash, yeah, you're gonna see trash everywhere. A lot of I don't get the trash thing. Um, a lot of the stuff, as he says, a lot of stuff can look like it's done backwards. Can't really argue with him on that. Um, Listen, you gotta know that's why I say bring your butt down here, stay down here for 6 weeks first before you go selling your house, packing up, moving everything, coming down here thinking you're gonna call it home. 'Cause a lot of you ain't gonna be able to handle it. That's just the reality. Like I said, it took me a year and a half to finally calm down. And every many days I was like, I can't deal with this place. This place gonna drive me crazy. You know what I mean? Which is why I kind of changed my little timeline. I'm like, if you really think you want, and it's not just to Mexico. This is whether you go to France, whether you go to Thailand, whether you go to Germany. No matter where you go, you got to sit in your head that regardless to what happened and regardless to how you feel, you just need to sit tight for at least 18 months. I used to say 12 months, but I'm gonna move that number to 18. If you ain't willing to commit to staying 18 months, no matter what, don't even waste your time because the first 3 months and 6 months, they're gonna be trouble coming your way. Lady just bought a house here, ain't been there 3 months, ready to sell it, leaving, bored, don't got nothing to do, don't got no friends, about to bounce, ready to go. I see it time after time after time after time. Flushing toilet paper down, it's not just a Latin American thing. They is other parts of the world they don't flush toilet paper, but it's not a big deal. Yeah, you got to get used to it, and it seemed weird in the beginning, but after a month, you don't even think about it. Your bathroom don't smell. You know what I mean? Your septic tank gonna last a whole lot longer because you ain't flushing paper down the toilet. You know what I'm saying? Um, it's not weird anymore. It's you don't think about it. You don't even. I mean, you literally. As hard as it is for you to imagine, it just become that's what you're supposed to do. You don't even think about it. I don't think about it. It's not even a thought. I use the bathroom, throw it in the trash. The trash can with a lid on it, of course, and that put your foot down on it, and the lid open up, and it closes back down and seals very. You're not gonna ain't gonna be no flies flying around your stuff. Ain't gonna be no smell. Ain't gonna be no odor. Ain't gonna be nothing. But for some people, they like, I can't do that. Well, think about this. Well, I don't want. I can't put my toilet paper in the trash. Well, people in them other parts of the world think you're disgusting if you wiping your booty hole with tissue. They use bidets and they wipe their rump. They think it's the most disgusting, vile thing that you wiping your butt with tissue. And now, and think about it, like taking peanut butter and just smearing it in between your crack. But yet you disgusted with putting a piece of trash in the toilet, but they ain't concerned about that smear up on you. You just live it. You disgusted. You know what I'm saying? So think about the folks over there on the other side of the world. I think you think it's backwards here. They think people from the other part of the world looking at you in the state like you just disgusting human beings. It just back. They think you backwards. Why you thinking they backwards over here? They thinking you backwards. Can you really make? I mean, can you? It's just the way you do things. They do it this way here. It's natural for you to wipe your behind with some dry tissue there in the States. And it's natural for them folk to use them bidets to clean their stuff. And I hear they got them off the chain bidets, cool water, hot water. They go in the bathroom, the whole thing get washed down, it completely decontaminate. Man, I hear you go over there in Asian countries, man, you come back in your states disgusted how the bathrooms are. So it's a matter of perspective. I'm not saying who right, who wrong. I'm just saying you just gotta get used to doing some things different. So that's all I'm gonna say on that. All right. So the guy who did that rant, somebody says, I'm sorry you had a bad experience, but this is not the reality that we live at all. While a lot of the things he says is true, it's all about a matter of perspective. So let's see what this guy say. First, we don't live in a gringo tourist area or near the beach. So there's that. We live in a small mountain town in central Mexico. It's beautiful and the weather's fantastic year round. We only had a washer for the longest time, but bought a dryer this year because I got tired of dog hair on everything. But hanging our clothes was no problem, and most everyone has at least a washer except the poor. You can also pay to have your clothes washed fairly reasonably. That you can. Yes, the prices are getting up there with inflation and with the strong peso, but it is still cheaper than most of the U.S. But that could also change at any time. The peso dollar is always in fluctuation. Again, you will pay a lot more for the luxury of a beach life. It's also true a gringo tax can exist if you don't know better or speak very little Spanish. As far as being a backward cash society, that is very uncharitable, and is constantly referring to the country as a third world country, not a third world country. There is nothing wrong with the people choosing to only accept cash, especially mom and pop shops. However, as I said, I live in small mountain town, and I can use my car virtually everywhere, including many small mom and pops. As far as internet, I hear it is spotty in many places, but again, in my small little town, we now have 2 providers offering gigabyte fiber, and it works flawlessly most of the time. Our new company, Total Play, has been out to fix any issues, very few, and not their fault. A truck took down our fiber optic line within a few hours. I've also never been stopped or harassed by police cops. I know this is the issue in many parts of Mexico, but the whole country not like that. The police in my town are very nice, and I've even had them on my roof in the middle of the night when I heard something in the field next to my house. Police has never been an issue for me. Internet has not been an issue for me. Very stable, very secure, faster, I think better, more stability than the ones I had in the States. I can use my debit card, credit card in most places, which is why oftentimes I don't have cash on me because I use my card. Um, Gringo tax, meaning because you're a gringo, they tend to charge you more money. That will happen. But as time go by and you get familiar with what prices are, you won't get caught slipping when they try, because they will try. Not all of them, but some will try, and it's so blatant you'll know. Um, what else? Uh, most many homes don't use dryers. Yes, many people tend to hang their clothes out to dry. Um, what else? But if you laundry services, again, it depends on where you live. If you live by the beach, you're gonna pay more for everything. If you live in the city, in the modern parts of town where all the expats live, you're gonna pay more. You got to get outside of those expat tourist zones if you want to pay better pricing. Um, but again, Mexico uh, is not third world. The person said, "Do you mind sharing what you pay in rent or mortgage? I'm hoping to know if housing has increased nationwide, including smaller towns, or if it's only affected more touristy areas." Our house is paid in full. It was about 2 million pesos. That's about 100,000 US dollars. I live in a small city, have paid rent between 4,500 and 8,500 pesos. So about 225 to $425. Somebody asked, he's asking for everyone's own experience, which is completely different and unique. No need to get defensive or upset about my experience. For some reason, you're not allowed to be negative about Mexico, or you will get hit hard. I don't find that true in other countries. Not sure why Mexico makes people so defensive. I personally have been to 8 countries so far, still searching for my place. I didn't hit you hard or remove your post to tell you that you couldn't share your experience. I counted your experience with mine, showing that what you shared isn't true for the whole country or for everyone. I even said I was sorry you had a bad experience and that Mexico is not for everyone, and that's okay. Folks get offended, man. I mean, some folks is off the chain. How long have you been there? Are you staying there? Do you think you will ever return? Are you working or just enjoying your new environment? We have been here since October 2019. We have no intentions on ever leaving. We have our permanent residency as of October. We own our house and a car. Unless something drastic changes, we will die here. Good for you. What made you leave? What industry were you in? Just curious. He didn't answer that. And that was the last statement. So listen, do your research, understand your why, and understand your why and plan this thing. Got to plan this thing. We have a course here called the Academy. Come to moveabroadandthrive.com. Click on the link at the top that says courses and click on the Academy. And we'll take you through a course to help you design your new life abroad. It's very important that you need to understand why you moving here. If you don't have a strong why, first sign of trouble that come along your way, you're going to be hightailing it back to the States. Everybody has a why, and you're going to need a strong one because you're going to be tested and pushed, and you're going to retreat. Like the lady who just bought a house, she's going back home in 3 months. Probably, I don't know what the situation is. You got to have a why. My why, I had to get my finances straight. Not going to be ready for retirement if I stayed in the States. I needed to cut my costs, but I didn't want to cut my quality of living. You know what I mean? I still wanted to live a somewhat of a dignified life. I wanted to cut all my expenses and get save and invest and get aggressive. And, I figured if I move abroad, I can cut my expenses and still maintain a decent quality of life and still save and still be aggressive with and I was shocked to find that my quality of life actually improved and gotten better once I've gotten here and adjusted, but my why kept me here. There was many times we needed to consider leaving. Kids got sick, I got sick, things weren't working out, frustration with the culture in the beginning, plenty of opportunities to leave. But that why kept me grounded. It was like, well, if I go back, situation's still gonna be the same. I can get through this, I can deal with this. Time is my friend when dealing with some of this nonsense. And that was the case. You need a strong why. So check that out. We have a whole section on that, identifying your why. And so check out the course. It'll save you a lot of headache. You got to plan this thing. You really got to plan. So the page here up top is moveabroadandthrive.com / let me put it down here at the bottom / academy. And then we also have the book of consultation. I'm thinking about adding coaching calls so I can give you more blocks of telephone time if you're interested. And I'm trying to add it to the page tonight. And hey, let me coach you through this thing. Let me rock. Let's rock this thing out. Let's make this year the year that you're gonna do it and follow through. We've had two families, two young ladies move here last week. Found them both apartments, ironically in the same building, condo, and they met each other for the first time yesterday. We have people from all types of backgrounds, retired executives in Fortune 500 companies. People are making a move. They're making a move. They're saying, I'm tired. I don't have to. And one of the young ladies is like 32 years old. Like I said, the other lady retired. People of all ages are coming. Young mothers that had a mother that just moved down here, drove a car here from the East Coast with her 3 children. Going to be interviewing her soon with her 3 children. And man, she's thriving. Talking about Cortez, I love it. I love it. She's meeting people, meeting other families. People are doing it, but you got to do the research. You got to put in the time. You got to make a visit. You got to plan. So let's get to it. moveabroadandthrive.com.